Tomorrow, it all kicks off in the Premier League. First place against second place. Chelsea against Arsenal. Rice against Caicedo. Palmer against Eze. Gabriel against Chalobah. Enzo Maresca against Mikel Arteta. It all kicks off tomorrow, and this is an incredibly important game. I gotta give it to Arsenal this season. They've been absolutely fantastic. Currently sitting first place in the Premier League, 9 wins, 2 draws, and only 1 loss from their first 12 matches. But sitting close behind them is Chelsea, and it may not have been expected from the start of the season, as a lot of people were saying Liverpool, Man City, but Chelsea currently sit in second place, only 6 points behind Arsenal. And if they can win this game at home, which they haven't done since 2018, they can go 3 points behind Arsenal. This is definitely going to be the best derby in the Premier League. In terms of how these teams have been performing so far this season, they've definitely been the 2 best teams. And in terms of both teams, mentally, this game is going to be very, very challenging. If you look at the Chelsea point of view, they have not won this fixture in 7 years. They haven't beat Arsenal at Stamford Bridge since 2018. But Arsenal, on the other hand, they've finished second place in the league for the last 3 seasons in a row. And if they do bottle this game, we all know what could happen in the coming fixtures. This was supposed to be the tough patch for Arsenal. They had Tottenham, which they ended up winning 4-1. Then they had to face Bayern Munich, which they ended up beating 3-1. And now they have to face Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And you might be saying, this should be easy for Arsenal. They haven't lost to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge in 7 years. But once again, it's all in the mentality. And this will really show us if Arsenal have that winning mentality and if they're actually prepared for winning the league, or if they could bottle it once again. If you look at the last 5 fixtures between these 2 teams, other than that one game in 2024 where Arsenal smoked Chelsea 5-0, other than that game, the last 4 matches have all been very, very close, and it's either ended in a draw or a slight Arsenal win by 1 or 2 goals. But this game feels different. I feel like Chelsea this season, they've unlocked a new level that we haven't seen from them in recent years. It is partly due to Enzo Maresca, but also their squad. Look at some of the players. Look at Caicedo. Look at Enzo Fernandez. Look at their midfield. Look at their attack with Joao Pedro at the start of the season. Look at Estevo in recent weeks. He's been absolutely incredible. And with all these fantastic players, all these young players, I think it's going to be very difficult for Arsenal in this game. Now, yes, Arsenal have been the best team defensively this season, and in their first 12 matches, they've only conceded 6 goals, which is absolutely crazy. They're insane. And they've also scored 24 goals on top of that. So it shows us that they don't only have the defensive prowess, but they also have the attacking capabilities. And yes, Gyökeres might be injured. Yes, Gabriel Jesus is injured. Yes, Havertz is also injured. All 3 of their strikers are injured. But Marino, we've seen him score a lot of goals as a striker, and he could possibly score in this game as well. Obviously, Arsenal are missing Gabriel in this game, which I think is a big loss, because realistically, in their whole defensive lineup, he's definitely been the best player this season. And in my opinion, he's been Arsenal's best player this season, period. But if you look at the backup players that Arsenal have, it's crazy. Player after player after player, they can make a whole second squad and still have one of the best squads in the Premier League. You look at some of the backup defensive players that they have: Miles Lewis-Skelly, Hincapié, Mosquera, Ben White. They have so many incredible backup defenders, and for that reason, I don't really think defensively it's going to be a problem for Arsenal in this game. And even though Chelsea, in my opinion, do have a weaker defensive lineup, and I think that is Chelsea's main weak point, they've still been performing pretty good this season. Sanchez looks much more comfortable on the ball than he did in previous years. If you look at other center backs like Chalobah, like Tosin, they looked pretty comfortable as well. So I don't really think it's going to be that big of an issue for Chelsea either. If we move up into the midfield, both teams have fantastic midfields. If you look at Chelsea's midfield, they have players like Enzo Fernandez. They have players like Caicedo, who in my opinion has been the best midfielders so far in the Premier League this season. But then we look at Arsenal's midfield: Declan Rice, Martin Zubimendi. Can you even get better midfielders than that? That's an elite midfield partnership. They've been everywhere this season. They've been getting assists, they've been scoring goals on the attacking end, they're putting in incredible crosses, but on the defensive end, their tackling ability, their physicality, the way they can run for the whole entire game is crazy. But then it comes down to the attack, and in my opinion, I think Chelsea do have the better attack than Arsenal. I think Arsenal's attack is something that they do lack in, And obviously, even though they did get Gyökeres this season, he hasn't started off as strong as some people would have liked. With all their strikers being injured, it could prove to be a little bit difficult for them to score multiple goals in this game. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be a big problem for Arsenal, because realistically, even when they had their strikers fit, they weren't scoring a lot through them. A lot of goals were coming through Saka, through Trossard, Martinelli, recently Eberici Eze, and even from set pieces, they've been scoring a lot of goals through their midfield and their defense as well. And that's one of the main positives with Arsenal, and one of the reasons why I could see them winning this game. And one of the advantages they have over Chelsea is the amount of scoring outlets they have. Their set piece ability isn't luck anymore, it's pure skill, and the fact that they can score with the attackers, with the midfielders, and now off set pieces they can score with the defenders, with Gabriel, with Saliba, with Jurgen Timber, as we saw against Bayern Munich. They can score from every single position on the pitch, and that is one of their main strengths, and that is definitely one thing that can really hurt Chelsea in this game. But for me, the main thing that this game comes down to is the tactics of both managers, Enzo Maresca and Mikel Arteta, and how they use their in-game management. I think that's going to be the main thing and the main decider on who can win this game. And in my opinion, if you look at Enzo Maresca, I think his in-game management is crazy. I think his tactics are incredible, and even though for some games he has gotten a lot of stick this season, I think tactically he's a fantastic manager, and we've seen it in a lot of big games they've played this year. We saw it against PSG first off in the Club World Cup, where he outclassed Luis Enrique, the winners of the Champions League. They beat them 4-0, and a lot of that was due to Enzo Maresca's tactics. Now, more recently, we saw it against Barcelona, where his tactics won them the game. The way they stopped the ball from getting to Barcelona's right hand side, from getting to Lamine Yamal, won them the game. And obviously that does have a lot to do with their midfielders and their defensive lineup, especially Cucurella, who I think has been phenomenal in every big game he plays. But that also comes down to Enzo Maresca's tactics and how he tells his team to line up and how they press, because the way Chelsea press in certain games they play is very, very effective. The way they have a high press, the way that they can press to one side or the other side of the pitch, depending on which players are playing. And I think that could possibly upset Arsenal in this match. But then recently we saw Mikel Arteta's tactics against Bayern Munich, and that was all Mikel Arteta's in-game management. The way they started off that first half, it wasn't the best. To be honest, it wasn't the best against Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich were holding the ball, they had some shots, obviously they scored the goal, and even though Arsenal scored the goal, it was looking like the game was favoring Bayern Munich. But after halftime, Arsenal came into that second half like a completely different team. They were absolutely incredible. They were pressing higher up, they were holding the ball better, and that is 100% down to Mikel Arteta's tactics. So this is a close game. In my opinion, this is probably the closest London derby we've seen in recent years between Chelsea and Arsenal. Yes, we've seen this matchup so many times in recent years, but most of the time it does favor Arsenal. But in this match, honestly, I could see anything happening. I think this is the most open match, the most open derby between these two teams that we've seen in recent years. And with all that being said, I just talked a lot of shit. So for my final prediction, I think this game is going to end in a draw. Yes, it may be disappointing, but I don't think either team will be able to get the win. Now, will this be worse on Arsenal? In my opinion, that will be more disappointing on Arsenal. Given the fact that Chelsea haven't won in this fixture for over 7 years, I think Arsenal are definitely coming into this game the more confident team. But with Enzo Maresca's tactics and with some of the players that they have, especially a lot of the young players, I think that could possibly counteract Chelsea's amazing squad. And with that being said, I think this game is going to end in a draw, and I think it's going to be a low scoring game, either a 1-1 or possibly a 2-2 draw. Obviously, I might look stupid if the game is completely different, but in my opinion, that's just what I think is going to happen. But with that being said, I still think this will be an absolute banger of a match. I think it could go either way, and the lead up and the build up to this match is crazy. Honestly, no one knows what's going to happen, and this can be a vital, very important match for both the two of these clubs. And that is the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed this little pre-match analysis and you enjoyed some of the insights that I had on both of these teams and you want to see this with more fixtures, remember to leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to reply to every single comment. Let me know if you're supporting Chelsea or Arsenal in this game, and let me know in the comments down below which team you think is going to win this crazy London derby. As always, remember to subscribe to the channel as I'm trying to hit 6,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and it's looking like it's going to be pretty tough, but I'm still praying that hopefully we can do it. But obviously, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos.